You know how we were told Brexit, UK exiting the EU, wasn't going to happen. There's no chance. There were odds were like, their betting sites, the odds were like never going to happen. And then it happened. Brexit won. Oh my God, what just happened? The polls are wrong. We were wrong. The club was wrong. What? And then shortly after that, we have the American elections. Donald Trump, 90 something percent chance. Clinton's 95. It's up to 95. No, Nate Silver's 538.com. Oh, it's up to 95% now that Hillary's got this in the bag. And then utter shock. Oh my God, she lost. He won. Then we had the recount. Oh, not the the nonsense. Jill Stein didn't mean anything. Then we had the Electoral College. 2 people flip-flopped on Trump, 4 on Clinton, which was hilarious. And I know we're getting close to January 6th, and that's an important day when Congress goes to finalize those numbers. Hopefully no shenanigans happen. But the point being, the unthinkable happened according to mainstream and elite people. What they said would never happen, happened. Trump victory never happened, happened. Brexit will never happen, happened. We got another one. Oh, an Italy vote. Remember the Italy vote? For the referendum thing, whatever it was, the yes vote, the no vote. If they vote yes, easy to bail out the banks, the club wins. If they vote no, not easy, we're in trouble. But the people have had enough, so they were telling people to vote no. Once again, leading up to that vote, the yeses clearly have this, yada yada, up, turn around, the no's got it, they won. Okay? There, if you're following France and its elections, was this lady named Le Pen? She's essentially the Donald Trump candidate for France, if you will. Okay, that's who she is. I've been following this for a little while. I think I've done one video on this thus far. This will be my second if I can recall as many videos as I do. The candidate who, again, they said, she was up at the polls, but then she's back down. Yeah, she's not going to win. Wait a minute. Mainstream site, express.co.uk. Mainstream site. Speaking of .uk, Brexit, UK, I think it's fitting that they post this. Europe trembles. Brussels in crisis as Le Pen storms into shock poll lead over her rivals. Storms into shock poll lead. In other words, unexpectedly, because we've been telling you she's not going to win, is all of a sudden massively winning in the polls. Wow. A series of bombshell surveys suggested that the Front National Chief will wallop all of the conservative candidates in the first round of the race to become the next leader of France. Eurosceptic Miss Le Pen. So notice what they called her. Eurosceptic. Eurozone. We don't want to be a part of it. Eurosceptic Le Pen, who has vowed to lead the country out of the EU, scored between 4 and 9% higher than either of the 2 center-right politicians she is expected to battle for the keys to the Elysee Palace. However, she still faces an uphill battle to clinch the top job because of the nature of France's voting system, which requires candidates to win more than 50% of the electorate over a 2-round process. All I can say is I hope ain't no rigging going on over there, and if there is, let it go the way of Trump. Let someone rig it for the good guys once in a while. Polling conducted earlier this year indicates that the controversial FN chief will eventually lose out to whichever conservative candidate she comes up against by a comfortable margin in the second part of the contest. Again, where have we heard this before? But hold on, there's a shock poll, right? Polling conducted earlier this year showed that. Regardless, the fact that a third or more of French voters are now prepared to back a candidate who openly advocates dismantling the EU project will send shivers down the spine of a Brussels elite struggling to comprehend the surging populist tide on its doorstep. After the results were released, Miss Le Pen tweeted, quote, "I am the patriotic candidate. I'm fighting in the name of the people. That is the meaning of my bid for the presidency." Does that sound like Trump? Yes, it does. I'm sorry. Yes, it does. That is correct. They have a little picture of this bozo. Former President Sarkozy has bowed out of the race after a humiliating defeat. Yeah, wise decision. And some political commentators are already drawing comparisons with Donald Trump's shock, that's me too, run to the White House as France's center-right party prepares to choose between two tired establishment stalwarts for its presidential candidate. The Conservatives will pick either François Fillon or Alain Juppé, both former prime ministers with less than scandal-free reputations. Quick look surprised about that. After controversial ex-president Sarkozy dropped out of the race to represent the party. Either man will present a certain risk, with Miss Le Pen bound to pounce on their checkered records in office and engage in the same anti-establishment rhetoric which served Mr. Trump and the Brexit campaign so well. And the shock surveys released this week show that in the first round of voting, the anti-immigration politician would beat Mr. Fillon by 29% to 20%, and Mr. Juppé by a narrower margin of 30% to 26%. But polling carried out earlier this year, envisaging possible second-round scenarios, showed that when it came down to a final two, voters would rally to the moderate candidate, with Mr. Fillon beating Miss Le Pen by 61 to 39%, and Mr. Juppé winning by 68 to 32%. However, experts have warned that shock events like Mr. Trump's election and the Brexit vote, and I'll add one, the Italian no vote, which caught the establishment totally by surprise, show how surveys are now likely to be hugely underestimating levels of support for radical candidates. A poll published immediately after the U.S. election showed that French voters overwhelmingly believe that the FN leader has the most to gain from the Republicans' stunning victory earlier this month, which seriously rocked Brussels. And in a sign of growing panic gripping the EU project, the current French Prime Minister Manuel Valls had admitted for the first time that a Le Pen victory is possible. Is possible. Oh, it's possible. It's more than possible. Trump victory was impossible, became possible. Brexit vote, absolutely impossible, became possible. Italy vote, impossible, became possible. That's three freaking things. Three that did not go the club's way. For whatever reason it may be. Rigged, not rigged, good guys infiltrating, no such thing as good. Whatever the reason. Whatever it is. And I don't care what the reason is. I just want the results. And I like the results so far. So if this lady takes over in France, it's done. It's over. I said this before. If that Brexit vote goes to where they leave, UK leaves, it'll be the first stepping stone, and then another one's going to fall, then another one's going to fall, and they're going to be, this EU thing is going to be dismantled. And I think about this, because if she, again, we're having upset after upset after upset. The good guys and gals are winning. Oh my gosh. So let's go back to one thing Lindsay said, which was not from his elite friend. It was from that guy Wilkerson, the prophet from the 1980s or 90s. He made this big claim about, this vision he had, and the euro would blow up first, and then within a few weeks it would be here in America. Our dollar would be in big trouble. And once you saw it happen in Europe with the euro, you'd have mere weeks to get your financial house in order over here. It'd be this big, devastating economic thing that happened. But that's how he saw it happening. And it makes sense. If this chick wins, France, kiss it goodbye. Kiss the EU goodbye. And the citizens, that's what they're saying. That we want out of this turd. We want away from this nonsense, forcing immigrants over here. Get out of our lives. That's why they're voting for these people. So you'll have Brexit, you'll have France, and then who's next? And if these countries start following, what good is the euro? What happens to the euro? If all these countries start breaking apart, the euro must be done away with. Which would make sense, wouldn't it? before it gets completely done away with, what would happen to it? You think it's going to rally? The euro rallies today after 3 more countries have signed a treaty or to leave, to leave the euro, whatever. Article 51, whatever the hell they call it. Oh, euro rallies. I mean, they may try that nonsense at first. The euro rallied on that news. Excuse me? What? JP Morgan Chase filing for bankruptcy. Oh, their stock rallies. Like, what? Doesn't even make sense. End of the long story short on that is the euro would go away, but it would crumble and be devastating at first. The dollar would reign king over the euro, maybe for the first time ever. I'm not sure how. I never looked at the charts going back really far, but I think the euro's always been more powerful than the dollar. At least I can say safely for the mass majority of the time those two currencies have been around. But it would have to go away. But before it went away, there would be much pain. Much pain, but still time. Remember that one? The alien face? Much pain, but still time. Conduit closing. Bell sound. What would happen? People would be flooding into the US dollar. Oh, dollar rallies even more. Quite possibly. But as if this guy Wilkerson got it right, that would mean the dollar is going to be collapsing next. So, I mean, because one thing, like we saw in the bailout, these banks from our side of the pond and the Eurozone side of the pond, we're interconnected. We get a bailout, you get a bailout. You get a bailout, we get a bailout. Because we do business with each other in both countries, and that's what we were told. We have to bail out them all, not just the U.S. banks. We got to bail out those guys too. So if their whole currency is crashing and all those banks involved in that currency are also tied into our economy, our country, then what? We got problems, don't we? We got major problems at that point, don't we? So I could see something like that happening. And now we also have recently Obama abstaining from the vote, our representative at the UN. We now need a 2-state solution, Israel and Palestine. That is telling me, alarm bells, World War III, Middle East, it's coming. Yeah, but Trump, he won, make America great, infrastructure. And I'm also reading today that Obama is getting ready to put some kind of sanctions on Russia. Only a moron would do that when in less than a month, or about a month from now, a little bit less than a month, Trump's going to be walking in the White House and he's going to promptly dismantle that crap. And you're probably pissing him off by doing it. And he may say, Joe Arpaio, that birth certificate thing you found, very compelling. I think I'm going to agree with you. Mr. President, former president, I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to have to look into that, which might mean every law you signed in is null and void. Every executive order you did, null and void. We got to dismantle all that stuff. National Defense Act, null and void, 2017. National Defense Act, 2016, null and void. Can you imagine the chaos? And I'm just waiting. To see them do something to stop Trump from getting in there. And I will tell you, I don't smoke hopium, but I'm becoming more hopeful. That's very rare for OJ Stimp 4 when he sees what's happening around the world, especially Palestine, Israel, 2-state thing. You're pissed off. I mean, not looking good, folks. But Trump getting in the White House, the days are counting down. We're getting closer. I'm starting to feel a little bit of hopefulness. Oh, wait, no, I just ate too much. Never mind. Scratch that. Just kidding. Anyways, that's the end of the video. If this chick gets in there, kiss the EU goodbye. It's going. I mean, it's already the snowball has already been pushed down the hill, and we're down here talking. Well, if this one leaves next, then it's possible that they might do it. But if the left wing wins, they're gonna definitely not leave. But then we have these other countries. We're not really sure. Meanwhile, the ball's already rolling downhill, picking up massive snow with the giant, while the bozos are down there debating, well, it's done. It's already in motion. It's going to happen. So, till tomorrow, take care.